Okay, good evening folks, and welcome to the broadcast. Here we are back with the Tour du Alpes, and it's a crucial stage 6. Are we going to see Daniel Cadiz, who's currently in second place, close up on John Beams, our leader? And are we going to see third and fourth place change hands? Let's find out tonight. I really feel that team tactics are going to play a part this evening, because there's a good chance of some changes around in the general classification, with riders wanting to move up the leaderboard, improve their placings. But the top three, as you can see, are pretty well clear from fourth place, and let's just go over that. Now, on Friday, before the weekend break, John Beams was able to hang on to his lead. He had over a 4-minute lead, but Daniel was able to cut that down slightly. Let's have a look. It's currently standing at 4 minutes 58 seconds. Are we sure that? No, okay. 4 minutes 58 gap. It was over the 5-minute mark, so Daniel clawed back, I think, 25 seconds on Friday's stage. But the shock for me was Andrzej Krajewski jumping up into second place. And this is going to mean Daniel is going to have to find some help from somewhere. Now, I've not seen him really using teammates in any of the previous tours, stages, so we'll have to wait and see tonight whether he's able to recruit anybody or whether he has to do it all himself. It's going to be exciting, folks. Stay with me and I'll run through the action as we get off the line. A lot of climbing tonight, 1,124 meters. You can see the graphic on screen. There's a big hill before quite a steep downhill and a fast downhill, and then it kicks up again towards the finish. So this is going to be a really interesting stage, because my guess is anybody wanting to claim time on this stage is going to have to do it on this first hill. I don't think they can wait for the second. I think if there's going to be a break, it's going to happen on the first hill. Hopefully the elevation profile is going to come into view any moment. There you go. So you can see the first hill takes us almost to the halfway point, and as the riders get underway. Now, it starts off relatively smoothly, not much altitude to be gained in this first section until we get to that first bit of a climb, then another plateau before we hit the climb proper. So I expect everybody to stay together. There's not going to be much happening here. I don't think we'll see anybody jumping off the front like I did this afternoon. I covered the 12 lunchtime slot. But we'll see. As we see Verhoeven from the Netherlands on the front, which is where I'm currently broadcasting from. And all the usual suspects you can see up near the front: Beams, Cadiz, Timo. But let's wait for it to settle down and the close-ups to begin, and then we'll I really don't think the action is going to kick off this early. I think we're going to have to wait until they get into the meat and bones of the climb, which is probably after 2 or 3 kilometers. We're going to see a little bit of an attack off the front. And who's that? John Beams has gone. He's decided to stretch his legs, pushing out 7.3 watt kilos, and already he's gained a 40-meter gap on Keith from OTR behind him. Now, where's Cadiz? Cadiz is down 20 odd meters back now, And this is dangerous because if John's allowed to go, I mean, all right, this is the first slightly steep section, but don't underestimate the leader, because that's going to add to his confidence. And if you give him a gap, you might not be able to pull him back. Here he is. Now he's stretched it out to 60, 70 meters and growing. So he's really putting in a big effort here. He's eased up slightly as the slope has eased up, but he's still putting out 4 watt kilos. So this is a determined effort to get off the front. And is he doing it so that he can ease up a little bit later into the climb, or is he doing it because he genuinely wants to break away? No real response yet from Daniel. Daniel's keeping his watt kilos at a nice steady mid 4s, although he has moved up in the 3rd place now, and we just saw him go in red there, so perhaps he is responding, and he needs to. He can't allow John Beams to get away. So here we go. Here's a look at John, a real class rider, 44 years of age. He's a tall rider, 188 meters. Sorry, 188 centimeters, and 73 kilos. So a good all-rounder. Not an out-and-out climber, but more than strong enough to hold the climbs with the best. And currently 60-meter gap over Daniel. Now you can see that his heart rate 157 and climbing slightly, so he is working here. He's not over threshold by any means, but he is working. 400 watts he's putting out. So this is a strong effort by John. And a good cadence, look. Cadence in the high 90s. And there he is on camera. So I love to see this. I love to see the fact that you know, riders of John's class are not afraid to get on Zoom or whatever and show themselves on camera. And more riders should do this. Particularly, I covered the lunchtime session, and we had one ridiculous rider off the front who was easily what's the word I can use? Yeah, not realistic. So it's nice when riders do verify their performances, and that's all I'm going to say on that matter for now. Daniel is putting in a superb effort here to try and claw back John going up front. He's being helped. Now, it'll be interesting because I can actually Contant is obviously John Beams' teammate, but I can't see anybody from Daniel's team currently anywhere near or close to him. So he's getting help from Goulot here, who's helping to pull him along, and Goulot's putting out some good wattage as well. So this is only helping Daniel close the gap. But this is a strong ride. Contant has moved into 4th spot behind Daniel. And those 4 riders are relatively clear of Wouter place in 5th place. And then you have a host of riders pretty close together. You've got Russinet, Keith from OTR, Stevens, and Lee Marshall. All these riders are vying for, like, you know, top 10 places on general classification. So they're all going to try and not fall behind on this first section. Wouter class apparently also on Zoom, so we may well see his body camera pretty soon. 35 years of age, 1.85 m and 81 kilos, so a slightly heavier rider. But he does amazingly well on the hills. So, and there he is. It's nice to see. Well done, Walter. Out of the saddle, pumping those pedals, look. And he's giving me a wave as well. Thank you, Walter. There we go. What more can you ask, folks? Class. Okay, so you can just see, just behind Walter, we've got Keith from OTR. Although it's showing Rusinek on screen now. And there's Keith just coming past. So these three could well, I mean, there's not much between them, both on screen here at the moment and in GC. So this could be an interesting battle as we get through. There's Keith Aitchison, look. Currently residing in Barcelona, Spain. And he's one of the, I've mentioned this before, but he's one of the top masters on RGT. I mean, he does amazingly well, and 64 kilos, so a good climbing weight. Rather smaller rider at 166. But this is an interesting ride from John, pushing on, and he's still got that 60-meter gap on Cadiz. So I don't know much about Nicolas Goulot, I'm afraid, the Frenchman. We haven't seen much of him in the earlier part of the tour, that's for sure, and this might be, is this his first showing? I'm not sure. Obviously I've commentated on 3 of the stages, and Nicolas doesn't ring a bell with me, so I don't know how much he's taken part in the stages that I wasn't commentating on, but I suspect he's not, and he's not showing anywhere on GC, so maybe he's come along to help one of the riders. As we look further down the field at Mr. Harding, Peter, and he's putting out a solid 4 watt kilos here. But John Stevens, I think John is in 4th place on general classification at the moment. So John will be wanting to improve his 9th place here, that is for sure. And I think he will. He's a strong rider, he'll be pacing himself. If you look at his heart rate, 152, 153, I think he's pacing himself. I think John has got a lot left in the tank, and we'll probably use that later on in the ride. So let's see what happens there, and as he goes into the red on this section. But this is the interesting battle for me. I mean, if John gets help from Goulot here, and we can see the gap has already gone out to over 200 meters. I feel this could be fatal for Daniel Cadiz unless he can somehow find help and pull it back. And the only rider really close to him is not going to help. I mean, Contant is just going to stay on Daniel's wheel. I'm pretty sure of that. That would be the tactic I'd use anyway. So I don't think he's going to find any help there. Contant will just be keeping an eye on him and reporting back to his teammate up in 1st place. If we look at Verhoeven, the Dutchman, Jesper, and look at the heart rate. So Jesper's really working hard here, folks. 176 heart rate. Now I don't know what his max is, but that's pretty high for this stage of the climb. You know, we've such a long way to go, so he's already putting in a big effort there. There's my teammate Peter Brook-Ravel. closely followed and in fact overtaken by Timo, I think. No, he's holding him off at the moment. But riders pretty much on a level with each other in terms of the wattage they're putting out, and this could also turn into an interesting battle between these two. And Timo apparently is also in the Zoom room, so we may well see pictures of Timo a bit later on in the ride. Again, I applaud anybody. There he is, from Germany, 46 years of age, my height 1.70 m, well, I'm just over 170, 62 kilos, so my weight at the moment, and a former artistic gymnast. Now, that makes for a good rider. And there he is. We've got picture, and look at his heart rate as well. So Timo, although he looks nice and composed there in the picture, it looks like he's breathing hard, and I think it's fair to say he'll be feeling this. 180 heart rate, he'll definitely be feeling that as he tries to hold on to Peter. And they're very close on general classification, so there'll be a personal battle going on here. And that's what happens, folks, with the riders lower down the standings. They'll try and find, you know, the rider closest to them to sort of use as either a carrot or somebody to try and drop on the climbs. It's all about personal positioning when you're lower down the field, and trying to claw your way up, seeing if you can catch the man in front, making sure the man behind doesn't catch you. It's not always possible, but that's basically what's going through your head as Vetturini tries to reel in the rider in front of him by putting in a above threshold effort. Above threshold is when the numbers go red, like you're seeing at the moment. That means that he's working above his normal watt kilo threshold. So well into the red here, Vittorino, as he catches Peter and Timo, and it looks like he may well try to go straight past them. This is a big effort. I mean, he's still in the red, and this is a huge effort. 14%. So 172 heart rate. So how long can he maintain this kind of an effort for? I mean, this is pretty impressive. And it looks like he's a tall guy as well. If we can take anything from his avatar, looks like he's a big guy. He's out of Portugal. That's what the flag is. So Portuguese rider. And on the 12% section at the moment, and still pushing out big watts. So yeah, he's managed to pull in front of Timo and Buquavo at the moment. And this is Herrera. No heart rate monitor, but let's have a look what we got. No, we've moved on from him to Suhard. Suhard's got a nice cadence, not on the steepest part of the climb at the moment, which is more than we can say for Harvest, who's 14%. So this is going to hurt. And looks like another big rider as well. Fran Hayes. Another rider I'm unfamiliar with, but there we go. Hisrul. We've seen this rider before, Jesper. Another one of the good Danes. So we're slowly working his way, and we've got a good field tonight, folks. 41 riders online, So that's a good field, and we will be staying with the action, watching all the riders coming home. So those of you that like to see the battles going on further down the field, stick with us, because Daniel and Damon and myself are going to stick around until the very last rider comes home. And here we've got Bancross, and look at Bancross's heart rate. So this fellow is working really hard here on the 12% section, and his heart rate has gone all the way up to 184. So yeah, he's working hard here, almost 300 watts. And here's the RGT guru John, by the way. John will be pacing himself, as he always does. Nice steady heart rate. And a good cadence. And a wave for the camera as well. Carlos control. Not overly familiar with Carlos. I think we've seen him before, but Scottish flag with Shields chasing him. Now, yeah, and they're pretty close together. So these two Scots could be having their own personal battle. There he is, you can see both on screen. So they could be having their own personal battle here. And that's the nice thing about coming further down the field, folks. It's the little mini battles that you see going on throughout the race. And of course we try to cover all the riders, so we've got Doyle and Hansen working together here. Hansen's another one of the Danes. And the F next to Dermot's name, I think is his category. I think it means he's, you won't mind me saying, one of the older riders, in the F category, which puts him pretty close to, we don't want to get it wrong, but in his 50s, I think, is the F, or is it early 60s? Anyway, late 50s, early 60s I'll go for. Let's see whether I'm right. As we're looking, here we go. So 161 heart rate, which suggests, and in fact he's even on camera. Well done, Hansen, well done. From ECKG. It's nice to see, you know, we've gone from one rider who just happens to be in second place now. We've just switched back to the front of the race, but we've gone from one rider, John Beams, being the only rider using a body cam, and now how many have we got in this race so far? 5. So that's pretty good, folks, and maybe people are taking the hint. Let's have more body cameras, because it doesn't cost you anything. It's very easy to do. Any old webcam you can point at yourself and push through your stream to RGT, so it doesn't cost anything, and it's a really good way of verifying your performances. So let's see more riders taking that option, as we see these two riders, Hansen and Doyle, I think are going to be doing their own mini battle for quite a while. Doyle dropped Hansen and Hansen's come back to him, so we'll see what happens there. As we get messages up on screen, James telling his OTR teammates to go, Peter Brook-Ravel, and here's Keith Aitchison being supported by Stuart, so yeah. But this is a rider, as I say, I'm not familiar with, and he's clearly heading off out front. Giving John a carrot to chase, although John will be sticking to the race plan, which is to go at his own pace, to be comfortable, and look at the distance it's put into Daniel. John will be more than happy if it stays as is at the moment. You know, if he can take second place behind a rider that's of no concern to the GC. And I say that without knocking Goulat, he's just not anywhere on GC at all. He's not in the top 20. So John knows that if he maintains his current position and his current lead, you know, he's going to finish minutes in front of Daniel. So certainly with this finish today, the finish is an uphill finish. There's a pretty steep kick at the end of the ride. So as we see one of the ladies, Jo Dawes. Now I watched I actually covered part of the earlier session, and let's just pull that up for you, because I think we had a change around. No, we got Alyssa Ellis, who I think is leading the ladies classification at the moment. I don't know where Jo is. I'll see if I can check on that as we're online. But Alyssa Ellis, who is currently leading the classification, put in a storming time this afternoon with a 1 hour 22. So I think she's going to jump even further into the lead, because I'm not sure who the second place rider is, but Anne Y finished 19 minutes behind her in the lunchtime running of this race. And I don't know whether Anne was in second or third place, but Alyssa certainly pulled out a big gap. And we'll have to see what the other lady, was Alyssa in first or was she in second? No, I think she was in second. So she's certainly done her cause no harm whatsoever with today's riders. We see Morgan, is he struggling, pulling over to the side of the road? Let's concentrate on your, no, he's got going again. That's nice to see. I hate to see riders pulling over, because you always wonder whether it's a technical or whether it's just cramp. But nice to see him getting going again. James Morgan, British rider, down the field, but still, you know, still pushing out the watts. And this is Shilabir, Matt Shilabir. With the Team Priar rider Gabe, we've covered him before. At the back of the field. Now, I didn't see Gabe in the early part of the ride, so was he a late starter? Did he start on time? We've got Paul Nichols, our own Paul Nichols, next rider on the road. Oh, that's a classic Damon. Now, I call Paul Cruella because he's the man behind these courses, and they are cruel. So I nicknamed him Cruella, and it looks like it's stuck. Look at this picture there on screen, folks. That's hilarious. I've got to take a screenshot of that. Beautiful, Damon. Well done. Oh, fantastic. As he's obviously listening to us. But Paul's a superstar. He's created these roads for us. But every single one of them has got a sting in the tail. And today's no difference. You wait till we get to the end. I'll bet within that last kilometre we've got over 10%. Because that's his style. He's put in these really difficult kickers towards the end of every stage so far. And hence the nickname Cruella. Because Cruel Nichols is what we called him. And this is beautiful to see. Look at this, folks. So in the top left-hand corner, you've got Wouter. In the top right-hand corner, is that Janssen? I think that's Janssen. Or is Janssen in the bottom? Yeah, sorry, my apologies. Janssen's in the bottom left-hand corner. top right hand corner, I should know, but I don't. And then bottom, you've got obviously John hurting. Look at him hurting there. I mean, this is real effort, folks, you know. The calmest of the lot looks to be Hansen, but even he's breathing heavy. I can see that. Look at his chest. So even Hansen, who looked calm, the calmest of the four, is breathing heavy. This is wonderful to see. I love this. Wouter, yeah. Look, gasping for air, as we see Hansen taking on board. Was that a bit of a gel that he just took on board? But look at John, trying to stay calm but hurting. I mean, this, oh, that's superb. And for those riders who, you know, sometimes have their efforts questioned, this is what you need to do, folks. You need to get on camera and show us you're suffering. Look at John. And this is why John was suffering, because he's pulling back Gulat. And we saw it on camera. This is a genuine big effort from John. Over 5 watt kilos to pull back the lead. I mean, he's a proud man. He wants to win it, and he wants to win it well. What a superstar. I'm just so impressed with that effort, because I thought John had just obviously let Gulat go and settle for second place, but he's having none of it. Above threshold effort there, folks, to get this back and hold the wheel and pull out. Look at the gap now to Cadiz, who's also putting in above threshold efforts occasionally to try and get back. Now John would do well to just sit on the wheel here, or is he just going to go past? I think he'll sit on the wheel. I think he's canny enough now. Sit on the wheel. We've got a little bit of a respite here before it kicks up again. But Gulat's saying, no, I'm off again. Brilliant. I was waiting for Paul's bone to come up. Yeah. I have to say, James, that I really enjoyed seeing that. And I hope we see it again a bit later on in the race. So Gulat is trying to drop John, and is he going to respond? As Paul appreciates the graphic. I wonder who sent it in, or whether Damon actually did it. I do appreciate it. Yeah, we love you too, Paul. I must admit, I almost fell off the chair when I first saw that. I really did. It's a good job I haven't got a webcam looking at me at the moment, because I almost fell off the chair. Yeah, as Folk tells his teammates Chris and Andy to go, Team Lou. But this is a super effort by John Beams, constantly gapping Daniel, who it's now out to 600 meters, folks. So he's going to take minutes, not just seconds, but he's going to take minutes from Daniel, unless Daniel can respond. And when I say that, Daniel puts in a 7.1 watt kilo effort, but can't maintain it. I mean, this must be heartbreaking. He knows John's got the better of him at the moment. Now, for those that listen to my lunchtime commentary and my commentary on Friday, when I covered Friday's stage, I actually did say that today was going to be the key day. People were thinking that Tuesday would be the key stage, and I said no, I'm having none of that. Today is going to be the key stage. Today is going to be when this tour will more or less be decided, and barring a catastrophe, if John Beams goes on to win this stage and win it by these few minutes that it's looking like he might, or at least finish second, you know, a few minutes ahead of Daniel, it's over. Daniel is not going to pull that back in what's to come the rest of the week. because John can call on his teammates in at least 2 of the stages that are still to come. I've looked at the stages that we've got left, and they really suit 2 or more teammates working together, because there's some significant downhills on some of the stages to come. So I think John has got this in the bag, and I know I'm calling it early, but that's the kind of person I am. That's what I tend to do. I just think his tactics have been outstanding. I mean, going early today must have caught Daniel by surprise. I didn't expect it. Caught me by surprise. I didn't expect, as we see, this is the halfway banner, folks. So we're halfway into the climb at 32 minutes. But we've got this long downhill now, which is going to eat into the time. So with a fastest time of 1 hour and 1 minute, is that going to get overtaken? I think so. I think these riders, yeah, there we go, 1 hour and 1 minute and 32 seconds by Vorperst, the German. So I think this is going to get overtaken. I think these riders will beat that time, purely and simply because of this long downhill. They're going to make up so much time on this downhill. The question is, has John got, you know, John's a slightly bigger rider, will he be able to catch Rouault on the downhill? We'll have to see. 9 seconds behind, so yes, he's going to catch him, because he already proved his mettle. Remember Thursday's stage, folks, where John and his teammate worked on the downhill, and that's where they pulled out that huge gap on Daniel Cadiz. They worked so well together through and off, where the second rider, we were following it live, and the second rider was doing sort of like 0.3 watt kilo following the rider in front, and they were swapping places. So what that basically meant was that John was able to get good recovery on the downhill, do his stint on the front, and it also meant that they were pushing 5 watt kilos on the downhill, but taking short bursts of that. So they were able to swap places, recover, go again, swap places, recover, go again, and they kept it going all the downhill, which was phenomenal. They gained minutes on that downhill, and that's basically what turned this tour around. And we've got a couple more stages where that could possibly happen, so I don't see this being overturned. Sadly, Daniel hasn't had anybody to help him in this tour, really. I've not seen anybody work with him, anybody give him any assistance whatsoever. And you would think for a big tour like this, he'd bring on board at least one teammate, but we haven't seen that, as we see him going into the red. Daniel's going into the red, trying to hold this gap that's just opening up. 1 kilometre 73 at the moment. I mean, almost 2 kilometres and growing. And that's just not going to get pulled back, folks. I'm sorry, but it's not. I mean, even if Daniel puts in a huge effort on this final bit of the climb, he's not going to pull that back. Not a rider the class of John Deems, who's still putting out, look at the wattage he's putting out on this downhill. 7% downhill, and he's going into threshold. That tells you how hard he's working. I mean, if we had the camera, you'd be able to see how hard he's working. He's not sort of like easing up or freewheeling on this downhill. You can see from his wattage that he's actually, you know, pushing the pedals around and working really hard. To do 3 watt kilos on a downhill of 7% is a big effort. To go over threshold is a huge effort, because it's much, much harder to push big watts on a downhill than it is on an uphill. As we see, 5 watt kilos, and Daniel, look, must be easing off, because Daniel is only sort of like 1.6 on the downhill, 1.5. Yes, occasionally he's raising that, but that's not enough. That's not enough to pull back this gap. Saying that, he puts in a 6 watt threshold effort, but it's just not enough. He's not even closing the gap on John here. Now Gulot has moved off into the front, but that could well come back as we stay with John. I'm just very, very impressed with the way that he's sort of approached this ride and this race. To go from the gun like he did and take off and say, come on then Daniel, what you got, catch me. Like I say, that must have caught Daniel by surprise, and also it sort of like throws down the gauntlet and says, nope, this is my tour, you're not having it. And he's not even giving Daniel a sniff at the moment. Now that could change in later days, but anybody that put money on Daniel now to overturn this would be a very, very brave man. Now, the only rider I haven't seen today is Krajewski, and is he even taking part in this ride? Because we've not seen him, we've not been able to cover him as we've gone down the field. So I assume he's not even taken part in this one, and that is a real shame, because he was in second place, was he, on general classification, and to just give it up, or not give it up, but to just have to relinquish that place through not competing seems very strange to me. But I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, so maybe Andrea's got other things going off and hence couldn't take part. As we see John Beams for the second time pull back Gulot. I think he wants to win it, you know. I don't think he's going to be happy, even though he's pulling out this big gap on which Cadiz, to his credit, has pulled back. But even though he's pulled out this big gap, I think John Beams still wants to win it. As we look at the riders a bit further down the field, and remember me saying this was going to be a battle between these two, still together, still nothing between them. So Keith Aitchison and John Stevens, 5th and 6th, and very, very close on the GC. So this is going to be an interesting battle. And yeah, who's your money on between these two? I think Keith's going to give him a run for his money, but John, supreme competitor, we'll see. This is going to be interesting to watch as we get closer to the line, folks. I mean, they're working well together at the moment. They both look to be doing the part. Now, this is a rider that's Peter Harding. Peter's currently 100 metres off the two riders in front and a good distance in front of the riders behind. So Peter's aim here will be to keep his 7th place, not lose his 7th place, maintain the gap to the riders behind. I don't think he's going to challenge these two, but we'll see what happens. Sorry, challenge the two in front. Now Wouter really put in a superb ride the other day. If you remember, right at the finish, right at the gun, he gained a couple of places by overtaking two riders in front of him. So he never gives up. He's always looking for that extra place, and we'll see what he's capable of today. And there he is on camera, suffering. Yeah, I think these two are good. So we can already see we're going to have what? We're going to have the finishing battle between 1st and 2nd, between Gulot and Beams. We're going to have another battle between Stevens and yeah, okay, and Jojo and Wouter here is going to be the 3rd battle. So yeah, exciting stuff. If it stays this way, it's not bound to. Now Peter, I don't know who's around Peter or whether he's out on his own in the middle. Let's have a look. Can we see it? With this one rider behind him, Verhoeven. So will Peter, and Verhoeven looks to be closing the gap. So Peter's got to be careful here. Try and maintain his gap from Verhoeven. I don't know how far behind the riders in front until we get back to the leaderboard, but it does look like Verhoeven is strong and looking strong. 174 heart rate, so he's definitely working. 330 watts. Definitely putting in an effort here to try and catch Peter in front. So that's another race within a race. And this is why I find these tours so exciting, because it's not just about first and second and third. It's about the battles going on lower down. And even right down the back of the field, you're going to get these battles taking place between riders that are close together, and close together on GC as well. Here's Timo. Now Timo was caught up with another rider earlier, wasn't he? That's who the top right-hand rider was that I couldn't remember. Timo. I apologise, Timo. I should have remembered. But what fooled me was you're wearing a green and white cancer jersey, and yet there you are in your studio with a red jersey. So that threw me a bit. Fantastic charity that these guys are supporting, folks. I spent half my life raising money for cancer. Being a cancer not only sufferer but survivor myself, I wanted to give something back. So I spent a lot of my cycling, I won't say career, but cycling time raising money for cancer and organising events like the White Rose Classic, which was one of the biggest sportives in Yorkshire, to raise money for cancer. So yeah, I love to see it. Top man Timo. As we see the battle back up front with John Beams just taking over the lead from Goulot, and Goulot just coming through. So hopefully the two of them will work together, pull out the gap, which they've done on Daniel Cadiz. So it was 800 meters there. It's shifting and changing, but yeah, they're maintaining the gap. They're not allowing Daniel to pull them back, and that's a key thing as we're coming towards these last few kilometers. I mean, it eases off slightly here, then it kicks up again. So how much time can John take out of Daniel today? And is he going to seal the tour here? I think he will. I think he'll take at least a couple of minutes as we look again at Jan Hansen. Doesn't he look cool? I mean, he's got the glasses on indoors, he's looking so cool. But look at his chest. He's working, albeit not at the level that we're seeing John Beams working, but he's working here. But that's a good ride as well. I mean, forgive me, Jan, concentrating on the rider behind me. That's a good ride from Joe Dawes, I have to say. And she's working hard as well. Lovely cadence, a lovely high cadence of 90 as she just goes around this this hairpin, so slows it down a little bit, but back up to 100 in the cadence. I mean, that looks so smooth. She looks like a class rider. Don't know much about her, but she looks a class rider. As we get back to the front, and Goulot is once again trying to distance John. Now, is John going to fight for the win, or is he going to settle for second place? I think he'll fight for the win. John's a proud rider, and I think he'll go for it. I hope he's listening to me. Come on, John, give it your all, mate. Let's have this tour won today. He's got a bit of a half smile, so maybe he is listening to me. Come on, lad. I've just been so impressed with the way that he approached Thursday and Friday. You know, Daniel got the better of him on Friday. He lost 25 seconds, but he managed that all through the ride. He made sure that Daniel wasn't going to take minutes out of him. He managed the ride, and then today he's just gone from the gun and said, you know, this is me, Daniel. What you got? Just superb effort. But doesn't Gulot look strong? I'm sad to see that, though. I have to say, Nicholas, you're doing yourself a disservice, mate. No heart rate. Any rider who's taking race wins needs to wear a heart rate monitor. We need to verify your performance, and you need to either be showing a camera view or you need a heart rate monitor. And I'm calling it out because that's a stipulation which, if you were competing for the general classification, you would have to produce a heart rate monitor. And the sad thing is that with heart rate monitors, folks, you don't have to say, oh, well, you know, it's uncomfortable on my chest, because you can get the ones that fit around your wrist, you can get the ones that fit around your upper arm. So you don't have to wear an uncomfortable chest strap in order to have your heart rate measured. And I think all riders who are serious about the riders, and obviously if Gulot's going to go on to take this win without a heart rate monitor, it's not something I'm going to support. It's a good ride by him. I'm not saying it's not, but I just can't support him not wearing a heart rate monitor. So there you go. As we look at Daniel in third place, you know, really trying. He's really working his heart out, is the lad. In threshold there. I mean, he's really been punished today, but hasn't given up. He's never sort of like, his head's never dropped. He's never sort of like said, okay, John, you've got it, and put his head down and just let him go. He's fighting all the way to the finish. And that's a sign of, you know, a top rider. I mean, it won't be, don't get me wrong, folks, the tour is not over. This is just my take on it. My take now is that if John takes a couple of minutes today, then I can't see him relinquishing that over the coming stages. Loving the commentary. Thanks, Rebecca. But I think your fella has got this, Rebecca. I really do. But it's not just today, Rebecca. He's ridden like a true champion these last 3 days. And I think he fully deserves this lead. Partly because of his tactics on Thursday with his teammate, but also because of the heart he's shown. He could have dropped his head on Friday when Daniel distanced him, but he didn't. He maintained the gap at 25 seconds. And that's true heart. So I give it to both riders. Both Daniel and John are both class riders and doing really, really well. But you've also got to shout out to the riders lower down the field. I mean, we've hardly mentioned him today because he's been virtually invisible. As we watch Gulot going under the 1 kilometre goal banner with a 150 metre gap. Now, can John pull him back? I'd love to see him do so, but this is a tough ask. And you see what I mean about Cruella Nichols and his the way he puts these. I mean, look at this. We're going up to 10% a kilometre from the line, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be another kick. Well, there is. You can see on screen there's going to be another kicker as well. How steep is that one going to be? He lives for this, so focused. Yeah, you could see that just looking at him on the camera, Rebecca. He loves it. That's pretty obvious. But what's Nico's got in store for them? I mean, this last kicker, is it going to be like a above 10 percenter? What do you think, folks? I think it will be. I think Nico's is going to put in an above 10 percenter here and justify his Cruella name. Let's see what happens. Here we go. We're going as Gulot, with 400 meters to go, is going to approach this last kick-up. Now, can we return to the graphic that shows us the percentage? Yep, there we go. So let's see what it grows to. 7.98, 8.1, 2, 3. I'll bet it goes over 10%. I'd be amazed if it doesn't. Oh, has he been kind? Is he letting the riders off with just an 8%? I mean, as I say, just 200 meters to go and you're going up an 8%er. But it looks like he's been kind to the riders. No, 8.2. What do you think? Is it going to grow above 10 or is it just 8.3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? No, he couldn't help himself. Cruella could not help himself. There's your 10%, folks. I said it would go above 10 and it did. 10.1. He's a cool man. I mean, and within sight of the line, and it's 9%. I mean, that's ridiculous. So well done, Gulot, but wear a heart rate monitor next time, mate. Okay, here we go. John Beams. Now the question is, what is he going to take out? Look, he's pushing it all the way. Look at that hurt on his face. Just look at that effort. Pushing it all the way. Come on, 100 meters to go, John. You can do this. Maximum effort, maximum time. Come on, lad. Look at his heart rate. You can tell that he's really, really hurting here. His heart rate is climbing as he gets to the line and falls over it. Oh, fantastic, John. Well done, mate. Okay, 670 meters. So what we got? 54.06. 54.06, folks, is the figure to watch. So how much time is he going to take out of Daniel? I reckon at least a minute and a half. 54.06, with Daniel coming up the steep section now. Wow, this is tight. Oh, we've switched views, so 54.50. We've still got Daniel on screen, so I can still look at the time. I mean, we've hardly mentioned content, and what a fantastic ride he's put in today. But here we go. So this is a minute coming up, folks. There's your minute. I said 54.06, so there's your minute gone. And still 200 meters to go. So it is going to be a minute 30, at least. Yeah, probably a bit more. I hope you don't mind me counting this down, Daniel, but this is crucial to the overall, mate. This is... there's the 1 minute 30 coming up. Yep. So 1 minute 30 already. One minute 40. Oh, 1 minute 44, give or take. Now that's on top of what of the lead he's already got. I think my prediction that this tour is going to be won today has rung true, folks. This is exactly what I thought would happen, exactly how I called it. I didn't expect John to go from the gun as hard as he did, but I did expect him to secure the tour today, and that's what he's done. I honestly thought he'd ride with Daniel and just pace him and just keep his advantage, but to pull out another almost 2 minutes is exceptional riding. But take nothing away from this fellow in 4th place, Contant, who's hardly had a word said about him today. But this has been a superb ride. To stay away from Stevens as well, chasing fast behind him. I mean, Stevens is only 80 metres behind him. So this has been a superb ride. And I'm sorry for not giving you more coverage, Christoph. Really good ride, mate. And well done. And here's John. Nice to see you on camera as well, John. So well done, mate. And John left behind Rusinek, who was just behind, I think just behind him, did he? Or have we? No, we've got the battle between Rusinek and Harding, haven't we? So here's Rusinek and Harding's chasing him 40 metres behind. There you can see it on the road. So you've got Rusinek in front. Now he's not going to get caught. Giorgio's a little bit too much experience to let this slip. But very close finishes amongst all this top 10, you know. I mean, it's an amazing battle. And positions, we won't know until we see the final sort of like standings, but I reckon positions are constantly toing and froing between this top 10. And it looks like riders further down the field are having their own battles as well, with Wouter closing in on Peter Harding. So we'll watch content coming over the line here, and then we'll get back to the action behind and see, are we going to see any catches? So there's John Stevens coming in as well. He was only almost caught content. Really nice ride. And here's Giorgio. And you can see Harding behind. I don't think Harding's going to catch. But look at Wouter catching Harding. And he was a good distance behind coming into this final straight. This is the third time I've seen Wouter do this. You've got to take your hat off to the man. He never gives up. If he can gain a place, he'll gain a place. I mean, he was down, what was he in 10th place? So he's pulled back. Just so impressed with his ride. I mean, if he'd got more distance, he would have even caught up with Rusinek in front. 30 metres behind Rusinek is finished. Fantastic riding from Wouter. As we see Peter coming in as well. And then we got Kiefer Hitchinson, and we couldn't see who won that battle, but let's see what happens on the screen. Who won between Peter and Keith? Well, I'll have to wait for the graphic to show on screen. It's currently we're currently waiting on it. Vitorino is in front of Verhoeven, and I can't see Verhoeven pulling him back in this short distance to go to the line. So yeah, but I'm just interested to know who won between Peter and Keith. Peter Harding won, yes. So Peter's finished just in front of Keith. Sorry, no, I'm getting confused here. I mean Peter Brook-Ravel and Keith. Who finished 9th and who finished 10th? That's what I want to know. So hopefully the list on screen. There you go. Peter Brook-Ravel just took it. It must have been a photo finish because they both finished in exactly the same time as we watch Vitorino coming over the line. So that must have been, maybe we can catch that in an action replay a bit later. I know a few people are also covering this race, so no doubt we can do an action replay at a later time on that. As we see Verhoeven coming across the line, another good ride by the Dutchman. Now this is Lee Marshall bringing it home, and then we've got Timo 200 metres behind. This has been a cracking race. I keep saying I've enjoyed commentating, but this has been pretty special for me because um, I think I've genuinely got to commentate on one of the best stages of the tour so far. Just wonderful to watch. And Timo wearing the body cam. So if you are taking part in general classification, folks, consider doing this. Just show us the efforts that you're putting in, like these 4 riders have done tonight, because that's been really pretty special. It's been a nice part of this broadcast. It definitely adds to Damon's ZMS stream when he can do that, when he can put them up on screen and show us them riding in their pain cave. So consider doing it. It would be nice to, instead of having a quad screen, to have like 6 sextuplet screen next time out, or even more. As we're now watching the 11 to 20 riders coming in. Suhad has been steady throughout the tour. I don't know, I haven't got the tour standings at the moment from Friday in front of me, but it'll be interesting to see which riders have swapped places in the overall. And I can't wait for James Ogilvy to get the results for me. Now what I will do is, I'm not commentating, this is my last stint as commentator. Apart from Thursday, I'm listening, folks, because on Thursday ZMS are covering the Proximus series and cannot cover the Tour du Alpes. So I'm going to be covering the Tour du Alpes from start to finish on Thursday evening. I will kick it off early with a news programme, and then we'll go through full race coverage. So you'll get all the pre-race hype and standings from me prior to the race starting, but I'll be on the line and that's not the plan. Okay, I'll be on the line to watch the start on Thursday and covering it right through to the end. So please join me. I'm really looking forward to Thursday. But in the meantime, tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm going to be doing news broadcasts, probably about the lunchtime slots again. Now I can't cover the full races either day, either Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't cover the lunchtime race in full. So what I'm tending to do is do a sort of like half-hour news program, followed by the first half hour of the race. And then usually I have to jump out and go and pick my children up from school. So I will be covering both starts of the lunchtime sessions Tuesday and Wednesday, and doing a news broadcast as well. So you can find out tomorrow how the general classification is doing once James gets those details over to me. Sorry for waffling on, folks, and as we watch the riders further down the field coming in. As Leroy says, that's an impressive heart rate for such a high wattage, Cadiz. Mine hits 130 just throwing my leg over my bike. As we watch Hisfool and Bancras coming into the finish. Another Dutchman. Well done, sir. 19th place, we've got Hisfool. And then how many more have we got to come in? 22 riders, saying 22 riders online, but obviously a few riders have now left, having finished the race, and they'll be going for the shower. So just been racing the Danes. How is Andre doing? Nick, perhaps you can help me out here. Is he racing in another race? Because I've not seen him today. And he was in second place in GC, and I'm a little bit concerned, and genuinely concerned. I don't know what's happened to Andre. Not seen him all evening, and that's a bit of a shock to me, because I know he's the kind of rider that wouldn't just give up second place unless there was a real issue. So perhaps is there anybody out there that can give us an update on Andre before we go off the air? And if not, I'll find out and I'll report in tomorrow's news broadcast. But if anybody's got any information, drop us a message. As we watch Fran Hayes coming in. 20th place. But don't forget, folks, every rider has got their own personal target when they're further down the field. Their aim is to get the best time they can on the day, claw back a few places on GC if they're able to do so. Now this is a new rider to me, Stasi. I don't think I've seen him before, so maybe he's joining the tour for the first time, in which case, well done, Demir. Well done, sir. And that's a high heart rate, so he's working hard coming to the finish here, folks. Yes, good ride, sir. And welcome to RGT. It's probably been on a while, but it's the first time I've seen him, I think. So, yeah. I always like to welcome new riders. Terence Harest, I've not really seen much of you either, Terence. So, it's nice to see you joining the tour as well. Yeah, it does, Nick, doesn't it? It does sound odd. I don't know. I don't know why he's a no-show. It just doesn't sound in character for Andre. And he won't mind me saying that, I'm pretty sure. So we'll find out. We'll find out what's happened as we watch Harest coming into the finish and John following on behind. Harest putting in above threshold effort to finish. Nice to see. Always like to see riders giving it everything at the line. Now I guess John may well, if you want to watch a stream from the mid to the back of the pack, John's your man, because I believe he'll be streaming this race to give people the chance to catch up on what's happening further back in the field. Not from choice, I might add. John will be doing his best, but yeah, not competing with the front of the race, and he won't mind me saying that. Well done, John. Now we've seen this fellow before, Control. But that doesn't sound like a Scottish name, so I don't quite know how that fits with the Scottish flag, but there you go, coming into the finish. Well done. As he finishes the final slope off and over the line. Well done, sir. And your compatriot Scotsman, Mr. Shields, following on behind. Now there was a bit of a battle earlier on between Doyle and another rider, but obviously Doyle has fallen foul. and he's coming in on his own, as is Shields. As we see Shields crossing the line. Another good performance, well done. And here's the Masters, Mr. Dermot Doyle. Big Chungus, what a name. And another rider that used a body cam tonight, Hansen, taking a place at the Deathlock. So he's wanting to just, and this is what I said earlier. We'll see whether Chungus actually fights him for this position, because this is nice to see when you get riders, you know, at the end of a race battling it out just for that one position further down the field. It's good to see. So will Hansen put in an effort here? Come on, put in an effort. Let's see. Oh, and the catching Doyle look. So a chance to gain 2 places if Hansen can put in a big effort here and overtake Doyle as well. Come on, out of the side. That's it. I love this. This is why I like cameras. If you could see me now, I'm out of my chair cheering, because this is what I love to see. And the reason why cameras are such a good idea. We can see Hansen in his pain cave, out of the saddle, pumping the pedals, you know, heart rate climbing. And this to me is what racing is all about. And this is genuine racing. This isn't, you know, somebody hiding behind, you know, superb. Come on, catch Doyle. I'm sorry, Doyle, but I do want him to catch it because I think he's earned it. I think the performance he's putting in here. Come on, come on. But Doyle is putting in look at Doyle putting in the effort as well. Well done. All 3 of them putting in above threshold efforts here. I mean, Chungus is just 19 meters behind, trying to catch Hansen. Hansen is trying to catch Doyle. He's not done so. Well done, Doyle, for holding him off. Well done, Hansen, for taking Chungus. What a great battle towards the end of a race. Now this is a lady I've been really impressed with, Jo Dawes. Look at the wattage she's putting out at the end of the race. And yeah. And how does this measure? This is the fastest lady on the day. So we're looking at Jo Dawes coming in. What's she got? She's going to get a 1:15, and that's going to be a 7-minute beating of the next best female on the day. So that's going to obviously bump up the standings, but it's just a great ride. Well done, Jo. 9% slope she's on at the moment. That's the slope. I mean, the slope doesn't ease until 30 meters from the line. What on earth are you thinking, Nichols? Okay, as we hang back to Graham now. Sean Graham, here we go. Bringing home 30th spot on the road. Don't know how many more riders we've got. We've got is it Sean Elliott? It's either Steve or I know it's Steve Elliott, isn't it? We got Stephen Elliott at the back of the pack, probably bringing up the rear again. So 5 kilometers. We're going to be around a little while longer, folks, for those that want to stay with us. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to hang around until Stephen comes home, like we always do. We like to watch every rider coming in, and providing they don't have a mechanical or they don't stop pedaling, or do something ridiculous like put out 1 watt kilo, then we're going to stick with the riders. So that's a good effort from Graham, coming in 30th place. And then we've got another Masters rider. And again, you can see Fo Andy putting in a above threshold effort. Above threshold, folks, is when his numbers go red. That means he's working above his comfort level, basically going into the red. And as I've mentioned previously, I always like to see riders that are prepared to really dig deep at the end of a race. I'm usually just gasping for air, certainly if it's an uphill finish. So well done, Andy. Just get over this last, there you go, over the last steep section and the few meters to the line. And Chris Shackleton in 32nd place. He's not going to get challenged. 360 meters to go. And I reckon the majority of these riders are going to be saying to themselves, what the heck, when they get to this final few meters and it climbs to over 10%. And here's the man himself, Mr. Nichols, the man who's causing all this pain. Although we're showing Chris on screen at the moment, so Chris, yeah, he's steady away, 156 heart rate, so you know he's putting in a bit of effort here, but he just wants to get it finished now. 200 meters from the line, and he's still got the 10% section to go, so he's going to be cursing the man behind him, Mr. Nichols, as we get closer to the line. And there you go, there you can see it, folks. I'm not talking rubbish. There it is, 10.1%. And that's what, 100 meters from the line. Come on, Chris, bring it home. Nearly done, mate. Just round this next bend and then it eases off. There you go. And over the line. And then we've got the architect of all this, Mr. Cruella himself. And he's probably saying, why did I do this now? Because I'll bet his legs are hurting. He's probably saying to himself, why did I do this? There you go. But to be fair to Paul, you know, not only has he produced some fantastic roads and courses during this whole tour, but he's ridden every one himself, and that's pretty impressive. Look forward to actually riding with Paul in future events when I get back to riding properly. Don't say I'll be able to stay with him, but it'd be nice to join some events and get back to some decent riding. And Paul putting in a threshold effort here. Nice to see as he crosses the line. There we go, 33rd place. We got the Team 3R rider. And again, only one Team 3R member. Come on, Cruel, from Stuart. Only one Team 3R rider tonight in the race. I did see Evan Oystenson checking out the course at the lunchtime slot. Now, maybe he planned on riding it and just had some kind of a technical, because he never actually started the ride, or at least I think he might have started and then stopped. So maybe he was either checking out the course or he was having a technical. Whichever it was, he didn't finish the course. And so I did expect to see him tonight. And a team as big as Team 3R, I would have expected a larger presence on this tour. My old teammate. Yeah, there you go. Paul saying, why? I bet that hurt, Paul, didn't it? 10%. What, 100 metres from the line? You cruel man. But no, another fantastic course, Paul. I've really enjoyed commentating on tonight, and the course has done it justice. Superb effort from all the riders. As we watch Gaby coming in, and then we've just got two riders behind. Poor old Chippis looks like he's really suffering on this uphill section. Slow cadence, really struggling to push the pedals around, I think. As we watch the overhead helicam. Now, what kind of distance? We've got a decent distance between them, so Gaby's not having to sort of like, he's putting in a good effort here, but he's not having to worry about anybody chasing him or catching him or any of that kind of nonsense. And Steve Elliott is, to be fair to the lad, he's a regular Lantern Rouge, and that's no criticism of Steve. He'll be used to riding in that position now in this tour, because he's done it on at least 3 occasions that I know of. So Steve, last man on the road, will just be setting his own pace, will just want to get it over with. He won't be doing any great guns at this point in the ride. He'll just be wanting to get it over with. As we see Gaby just finishing off that last steep section and coming over the line. Well done, sir. Okay, so 2 more riders to watch come in. We should be finished in what's Steve got to do, I think. We've got Shilabia has got 2.1 kilometres, and I think Steve is a further 700 metres behind him. So we've got about another maybe 10 minutes, maybe less. We'll see. We're not going anywhere, and while we're waiting, perhaps we can pull up the tomorrow's stage map and have a look at that. Let's see what Damon's up to. There you go, right on cue. Now that's a commentator's dream, when you make a call like that and immediately Damon can put it up on screen. This looks, I mean, it's only a short one, but it looks hard. 411 meters in 10 kilometers. So punchy is the word I would use. This is more going to be a time trial. It's an uphill time trial, 10 kilometers. That's the kind of effort that I think is going to suit both. I mean, Daniel is remember, in his home country, is a time trialist. John has got the build. for time trialing. That's going to be an interesting battle tomorrow. I mean, there's no thanks to you've been fantastic on this move. Cruella, pass it out. Okay, see you later, Paul. I'll chat with you later, mate. Another good course, mate. But no, what I'm saying tomorrow is there's no possible way that in 10 kilometres and with the likes of John and Cadiz going head to head in the time trial, and it is a time trial, don't get me wrong, it's not classed as one, but 10 kilometres with 411 metres of climbing is basically an uphill time trial for both those two guys and the rest of the field. So they'll duke it out, but there's no way either of those two riders is going to pull out big time on the other in just 10 kilometres. It's not going to happen, folks. So you're not going to see a change around tomorrow much in the classification. So then we're into sort of like the rest of the week and seeing what happens. I've already stated that I'm crowning John the winner of this tour even at this early stage, because I said tonight would be the key stage and it's proved to be so. He's gained almost another 2 minutes on Daniel Cadiz. For those of you that are joining late, that's what happened. John came in third place behind a rider that wasn't on general classification. So John in effect took the win tonight from Daniel Cadiz, who finished almost 2 minutes behind him. And that's sufficient to see John with what was it before tonight? I think something like a 7-minute gap, maybe even more. And that kind of time is not going to get pulled back over the rest of this week with the stages that are to come, because tomorrow doesn't suit Daniel in terms of pulling time back. 10 kilometres, not long enough. It's not going to be enough to pull back sufficient time. I mean, even if John had a mechanical tomorrow, I just cannot see him losing sufficient time for Daniel to even close the gap significantly. As we're watching these two riders, I mean, they must really be suffering now. Both on the uphill section, look, and yeah, it just looks hard. And this is the easier uphill section. This is the 4%, 4%er for Chippis. So all to play for with the rest of the GC. I mean, don't take my word for it. When I'm calling John as the winner, don't take my word for it. A lot can happen. And, you know, the real shock to me tonight is, as we take another look at Matt Chippis, he's a grinder, 53 cadence, so that's grinding up the hill. Steady wattage though. And approaching the finish, he'll be glad to see these banners coming up. He won't be glad to see the 10% when he gets to that, but yeah, he'll be glad to see the finishing banners approaching and know that he's almost done. Getting to the 1 kilometre Flamme Rouge now. Flamme Rouge has been painted white, apparently for some reason. But there you go. And yeah, I'm shocked that we've lost Andrzej Kudowski from second place in the GC, and we don't know why. I've asked for somebody to report back to me and see whether we can find out what's happening, and we just don't know. We've had no word back yet from why Andrzej Kudowski didn't take part in any racing today. He didn't only miss tonight's race, he hasn't taken part at all, which is a bit of a shock given his second place on GC. So that's going to move Daniel Cadiz back up into second place, because Andrzej had overtaken Cadiz. So So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens to the rest of the GC once the results are out. Now I'm pretty sure that James may well try and get the results out this evening, but I'm going to announce them in tomorrow's news show. So I'll be going offline as soon as we get Stephen Elliott over the line, as we watch Chippis just coming in with 800 meters to go. Steve's last man on the road, not far behind, so we've not too much longer to wait now before we see both riders coming in. And then I'm going offline, going to have a cup of tea and a biscuit, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow lunchtime, 12 o'clock GMT. That's 1 o'clock my time here in the Netherlands. And what I'll do is I'll probably come online 30 minutes before the race, so that'll be 11:30 GMT to do the news broadcast, and then I'll cover the first half hour minimum of the race following that, where I'll give out all the news and everything else. Now sometimes we get fast times set in the earlier runnings of the race, you know, sometimes the riders go early, but I think with what's happening in the GC now, we're going to see the main contenders probably all racing together, and the chosen time slot seems to be this time slot, the 6 o'clock GMT time slot. So I don't see that changing amongst the real favourites. I think they're going to want to keep an eye on each other and maybe use tactics if it's needed. But I can't state enough for those that have missed this beginning of this race. The tactics at the start were absolutely stunning. We saw John Beams just go right from the gun, and apart from the unknown rider that Nicholas Goulot, who took the win, John Beams just stayed out in front and easily took the win. I mean, I say took the win. I can't discount Nicholas, but I do question the fact that he wasn't wearing a heart rate monitor. Winning a race of this calibre without a heart rate monitor, to me, is, well, if it was my race, I would say not acceptable. I would not accept that result. I'm sorry, I just wouldn't. But I'm not the race organiser, and I can't speak for the race organisers. But Daniel, to be fair to him, put in a very, very impressive ride to hold John at just the 2 minutes, because it would have been very, very easy to see him drop his head and just let John go. But right to the line, to be fair to Daniel, he was pushing it and really trying. So yeah, it's been a good race tonight. Now, as we move away from the top 20, one rider that I will give another shout out, who didn't get much of a shout during the whole race because he was basically so quiet and sticking to his position on the road, never looked in any danger of losing it, and that was Contant. He came in 4th place, and I just think it was a superb ride. He controlled his whole race, and although we didn't give him very much coverage, my eyes were on his dot, even if I didn't give him the shout outs he deserved. As we watch Chippis just coming up this last 10%. I know I keep hammering it home, folks, but I do think this is beyond the pale. 100 metres from the line and 10%. There we go. See it on screen. So he's going to be saying, please, please let it be over. 53 cadence, so he's really grinding up here. Let's see what happens to his cadence as he goes over the top. Is he just going to spin it in, or it was so relieved? No, he's just keeping it steady to finish over the line. He's just happy to finish. There you go. And here's Lantern Rouge, not for the first time, and Stephen won't mind me calling him Lantern Rouge and telling folks he's just happy to be taking part in the race. And look, even going over, you know, over threshold, right at the death. What a great rider. And this, it's because of riders like Stephen. This is the reason, folks, why I stick around in my broadcasts. And unless I genuinely have got somewhere to go, like picking up the girls or making a tea or something silly, I always try to get the last rider coming home. I don't like to leave a broadcast early, because I think these riders right at the back of the stages deserve just as much coverage as the riders at the front. They work just as hard. And quite often, as we've seen tonight, you get some really good battles towards the lower end of the field, and we saw that. We saw 3 or 4 really good battles tonight. The class act was once again Wouter, gaining places at the death. He didn't quite get his 2 places, but he did gain a place, and with a superb effort. But my hat's off to Stephen for sticking it out, and for, you know, he finishes every stage he's taken part in. He doesn't give up. And it can't be easy knowing you're last man on the road. But take heart, Stephen, it's a place I've been on many an occasion, mate. I've done my fair share of Lantern Rouging. So 90 metres from the line, he's just about finishing off the steepest section. Then he'll drop over. Nice cadence. And he'll flop over the line. And even even a high threshold effort. What a star. What a star. Well done, Stephen. Great effort, mate. And that's a wrap, folks. I think we've just got time to have a look at the map again for tomorrow's stage. Right on cue, there's Damon. And then I think it's time to wrap up this broadcast. Thank you so much for supporting Damon at ZMS and for supporting OTR with the broadcasts. 10 kilometres tomorrow. 411 metres, it's going to be an uphill time trial, trust me on that. And I hope you will join us. I'll certainly be watching it from the comfort of the sofa. I might even record it, and then obviously I won't put out my stream live, because I wouldn't do that with ZMS recording, but it will be on my channel later on after everything's finished. And just finally to say, this has been my 3rd stint broadcasting with Damon. I've immensely enjoyed it. It's been a real treat, and I can only thank him for having faith in me. I hope he's enjoyed it just as much as I have, because it's been a treat. And it's given me more confidence doing my own broadcasts as well. So on that note, folks, I'm going to say good night. I think we're going to go to the ads now. And take care, stay safe everybody, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow.